Dark ages were not dark. Indeed, the vast majority of the reasons individuals think the early Middle Ages were dull are only normal misinterpretations about the period. Here, unfortunately, are the main 10 signs that we are presently going into another period of obscurity. Number 10. Social media censorship. Twitter has as of late declared another device in their battle against free discourse and the quest for knowledge, individual by individual blocking. The new setting will permit clients to choose who can and can't answer to their tweets. As such, you can clergyman a whole discussion where just those individuals who concur with your point will be obvious to anybody perusing. Facebook is currently adding notices to specific presence on caution individuals that they may contain bogus data in any event. When they don't, and Instagram is erasing posts that may make offense a few people. On the entirety of this, whole gatherings are in effect out and out restricted from the entirety of the previously mentioned destinations for essentially affronting others or spreading data which the proprietors of those locales don't concur with, regardless of whether they are correct or not. In the US, where a large portion of these organizations are based, they are inside their legitimate rights to smother free discourse. The last answer for these awful assaults on the sharing of information is for new locales to rise liberated by political inclination of tycoon proprietors and investors who consider the to-be line as being a higher priority than the affection for shrewdness. Number 9. Suppression of speakers on campuses. The right to speak freely of discourse incorporates the option to fight discourse you can't help contradicting. The individuals who punch protesters at rallies can no more profess to help free discourse than Lenin could profess to help private enterprise. However, there's practicing your majority rule option to dissent, and afterward utilizing option to totally close down the perspectives you're challenging. As of late, it appears that protesters are pointing exclusively for the last mention. Creating a domain your rival is hesitant to enter appears to have truly taken off around 2013. Before that, fights at grounds infrequently hindered a welcome speaker from joining in. Today, you catch wind of dropped addresses with mind desensitizing normality. Speakers like Milo Yiannopoulos have been pursued off school grounds, as have speakers like Ace Fetus Removal Supreme Court Equity Carol Bayer. Each time it occurs, it shows how little worth is presently positioned on free discourse and edified discussion, versus essentially yelling your adversary down. We ought to be unfathomably worried that alleged bastions of free discourse, to be specific colleges, are currently the wellspring of so much enemy of opportunity. At the point when discussion closes, so does the disclosure of new information. Number 8. YouTube censorship. The men behind the window ornament at Google have chosen to spare us from ourselves and stifle paranoid ideas and other substance they detest. Their explanation is that they are keeping us from being deceived. That positively infers an extraordinarily shrewd statement by T.S. Eliot: the vast majority of the underhandedness in this world is finished by individuals with sincere goals. The inspiration of Google, on the off chance that it is valid, can appear to be from high-minded beginnings, yet there is one issue: paranoid fears are regularly obvious. For instance, Project MK Ultra, the sickening CIA mind control test. Furthermore, shouldn't something be said about the hypothesis that help for the Iraq War was dishonestly made because of lies about children being tossed from hatcheries? What's more, discussing wars, the Vietnam War depended on one incredible large falsehood, talked about just in paranoid notion hovers until the CIA affirmed it to be valid. I am, obviously, alluding to the Gulf of Tonkin episode. What number of conversations of intrigues are being expelled and covered up by Google at this moment? What's more, unquestionably right currently is the point at which we most need these conversations around China and the coronavirus and the deep state in legislative issues. Number 7. Google search destruction. Over the most recent 3 decades we have given over the curation of the abundance of human information to an organization that had the witticism, "Don't be malevolent," until 2018 when it unobtrusively positioned it in the last sentence of its set of principles, presently only a bit of hindsight. The most recent 2 years have seen Google dynamically devastate the nature of its query items, first filling them with supported posts and now, as of May 2020, apparently supplanting the whole list with results that give Google and its companions budgetary help during coronavirus. Online website admin gatherings are brimming with site proprietors pronouncing their destinations dead as 50 to 70% of their traffic from search has been sliced for large brand results from organizations lined up with Google's reality see. It is presumably reasonable for state that the fate of the Internet is one in which most indexed lists end in a 404 blunder page not found. Google is successfully closing down the internet. With all the inquiry traffic gone, the destinations that do remain will be constrained to look to membership models. Number 6. Chained Bibles. Recollect the affixed Bibles from the last Dark Ages. Clue: they were tied up in light of the fact that they were staggeringly significant, not to stop individuals understanding them. Prepare to be blown away. They're returning. As Google has started what is by all accounts its last assault against little and medium data sites and YouTubers, more data is either vanishing or is being bolted behind paywalls and membership models. When all the best substance is bolted away, we will have at long last arrived at where the web is the specific inverse of what it was intended to be. Rather than the scattering of data to the entire world for nothing, paid for by advertisements clearly, we will have a firmly bolted vault of information for just the individuals who can bear to understand it. Furthermore, in contrast to the Bible in the Middle Ages, we don't have web clerics who can peruse it to us consistently. This really is the deliberate expulsion of learning for everything except a first-class rich. What's more, coincidentally, this isn't just about little sites and designers. Number 5. Joe Rogan Spotify. The greatest name in podcasting has recently reported that he is moving to Spotify where, for the bother of tuning in to a promotion, you can get to his digital broadcasts. He is presumably the primary huge name to disclose to Google he won't endure their control. As of not long ago, Rogan was gaining $36 million every year for his digital broadcasts with Google, however Spotify attracted him in with a guarantee of $100 million. It is no big surprise he is happy to face the challenge and move to a paid help. It is extraordinary for Joe as far as control, until Spotify gets purchased by Google or starts to actualize its own limitations on content. It does, in any case, serve to show us exactly how prohibitive access to data will turn into. The truth will surface eventually whether a mass migration of substance producers to this new stage will serve to widen or decrease our general access to information. We are seeing a solidification right now into a couple of very enormous partnerships, and their standards and morals, or deficiency in that department, will decide whose voices and what stories we as a whole hear later on. Number 4. Wayback Machine Censorship. Who controls the past, ran the party motto, controls the future, who controls the current controls the past. These words from George Orwell's shockingly far-sighted novel 1984 sound accurate especially today. The Wayback Machine or Internet Archive is an astonishing website with depictions of most pieces of the Internet returning decades. It has, on numerous events, been utilized to uncover beguiling altering from the predominant press. In any case, shockingly it has now brought a hazardous turn down the dim street of oversight. As of late, the Wayback Machine started denoting certain chronicled pages as disinformation, especially as it identifies with the coronavirus. It is retroactively expressing that chronicled news or occasions were false. It is just a short time before they begin canceling the first substance itself or supplanting falsehood with realities as dictated by anonymous movers in the background. Number 3. Free discussion in science. Researchers and specialists are currently routinely terminated for revelations or in any event, upholding hypotheses that are presently regarded in opposition to thoughts demonstrated by logical accord argumentum advertisement veracundium anybody. The dread of causing offense, or more terrible, making offense those with boisterous internet-based life existences, is to a great extent behind this ghastly circumstance. Researchers ought not be smothered, and it doesn't make a difference how hostile their disclosures or perspectives, they ought to be put out in the outside air for banter. In the event that we are not permitted to contend against thoughts, by what method can we really demonstrate them to not be right, or to demonstrate their inverse to be valid? From nature to race and sexual orientation, another, religious philosophy, is being framed, and addressing it is equivalent to apostasy with disgracing and shunning turning into the new consuming at the stake. Number 2. Zombie apocalypse. The principal thing I did when New Zealand shops and cafes reopened after the coronavirus lockdown was go through the day in the city perusing the shops and eating with companions. Under the new precautionary measures that permit us to keep everything open, a few shops need to constrain the all-out number of clients inside their stores at some random time. This has prompted lines outside a considerable lot of our fundamental shops, lines any semblance of which one regularly would just find in socialist or communist countries. Wellington City has no shopping centers, so the lanes are presently loaded up with individuals respectfully holding up outside stores while gazing at sparkling telephone screens in their grasp. It occurred to me, the zombie end of the world isn't something from a blood and gore film or TV arrangement, it is here this moment. Rather than talking and sharing our encounters and information, rather than perusing a book or even a magazine, individuals are messing around or watching recordings on YouTube, the ones Google hasn't smothered at this point. This is the zombie end times, and it is deliberate. Until you see a city road brimming with individuals with empty countenances gazing intently at, you can't genuinely acknowledge how alarming this truly is. As uninhibitedly as we have decided to devastate our cerebrums along these lines, we should likewise openly decide to stop. At this phase appears to be improbable. I trust I am off base. Number 1. Historic information sources may vanish. Social separating will have numerous genuine thump on impacts that are unexpected. With certain spots previously prohibiting money because of paper being such a decent bearer for the infection, it is conceivable to feel that organizations of human information, for example, libraries and, to a lesser degree galleries, may in the end likewise be covered for the sake of open security. This would be halfway sensible if not for the way that the remainder of the things on this rundown are additionally happening simultaneously. When all destinations are gone with the exception of the profoundly sketchy Wikipedia toward the finish of Google's Hunt Holocaust, we could get ourselves at long last untethered from the mutual pool of information on our progenitors whereupon we have manufactured our astounding and brilliant society. We're at the end of this video. If you like the video, don't forget to comment, like the video and subscribe to the channel.